Hello, everyone. This is Will Gray, and welcome back to our How To Corner. In today's episode, we will be talking about how to stop shin pain while playing sports. So, for everybody who is curious of what shin pain I'm talking about shin splints. This is a very common terminology that is used for a lot of actual front leg, lower leg pain. A lot of athletes are very aware of this term, shin splints. And so the question is, what are shin splints? Shin splints is basically when you have your tibia bone, which is called your shin bone for the lay people. And then most of your pain originates in that front lower part of your leg. With that, that bone is actually covered in periosteum, and that's just basically a layer that surrounds the outer covering of the bone, and this layer becomes very inflamed. And then with that, you have a lot of micro trauma, a shearing of that periosteum that happens over the shin bone, as well as the muscles that are attached to it. So when somebody talks about shin splints, that's what they mean. This is the actual thought process of what a shin is, and it's a tibia bone that's surrounded by the actual periosteum, which becomes sheared through a lot of trauma or micro trauma. Now, when we move to the next slide, we're going to discuss what causes shin splints, right? And so I told you what it was. So this is what causes it. That's a few things. For me, I just pretty much put them in six different categories. One, change of surface. Two, increasing your weight, meaning how much you weigh. Increasing activity, weak lower leg muscles, flat feet, and accumulation of trauma. So let's start with the change of surface. We're going to be on this slide for a little bit, so just bear with me. The change of surface pretty much transitions from grass to hardwood to dirt to asphalt to turf. When you're playing sports in high school or in college or at the pro level, a lot of times you change surfaces all the time. What I mean by that, let's say if you're in high school, right, and you're probably playing multiple sports, baseball, basketball, and football. Those are all played on different surfaces. If you're playing the infield in baseball, it's probably a dirt field or dirt infield. As a result, guess what? That's probably going to be a total different surface what you play in football, right? Most football fields are grass fields. Now you have a lot of turf football fields as well as some turf outfields or infields with baseball. But for the most part, dirt, grass, those are pretty much the two surfaces. And then you transfer from there to the hardwood or harder surface for basketball. And if you're a track person and you run, a lot of people run on asphalt. I know that sounds wild, but a lot of schools don't have tracks really. And some schools that do have tracks, that surface is even different, but it's obviously made for running. But transitioning from the turfed hardwood grass to that asphalt or to that actual track and field surface, that can cause your actual shins to be in common flame because there's different forces and different dispersion of forces when your foot is contacting the ground on all those surfaces. And when you're having to change surfaces, your body is having to go to a phase of what I call transitioning to get an actual feel for the surface difference under your foot. Now, an increase in weight. I'm a little bit deliberate here. If you add about 10 pounds of body weight to your actual frame, that is going to increase the joint forces or the actual gravitational forces on your body when you hit the ground, which increases the impact force. That impact force has to go somewhere. If you're a person that's heavier and you get back to doing something, as a result, you're going to put a lot of pressure on the lower part of your leg, your knees, your back, your hips, right? And usually when you have shin splints, you know you're a little bit heavier because you're coming off an off season, or maybe you just haven't worked out in a while and you're trying to get back into working out. If you're heavier, that can cause you to have a lot of actual shin pain. As a result, you need to be aware of that. And then the increase in activity. For people who go sedentary for a month, right, who sit down and they don't do anything at all, what ends up happening is that you end up having that muscle quote unquote conditioning that basically regresses, right? And so when you go from sitting to getting up and moving, all of a sudden you go for a nice mile walk, and the next morning you wake up and your legs are sore. And you're like, "Oh, my thighs are sore," and then you mess around and try to wash your lower leg off or shave for the ladies, and you realize that it's very tender to the touch. That is due to the fact that you had a long period of inactivity with a period of increased activity, and then transitioning from moderate to vigorous activity. If you're actually already conditioned and you're going from a space of you're working pretty hard, ramping up for the season, possibly, or ramping up for a 5K event, or ramping up for some type of actual event in general, then what happens is that that goes from moderate to vigorous, and that increase in activity, that faster pace, that increase in weight maybe you're lifting, or the increase in actual speed that you're employing, that causes those lower leg muscles, that tibia bone, that periosteum, that fascia surround the muscles, to be all stretched and strained, right? So that leads to the next point: weaker lower leg muscles. When you have a decrease in the muscle tone due to inactivity, or just the fact that you don't strengthen those muscles, you're gonna have an actual increase in more muscle breakdown. And that breakdown in muscle comes with the shearing effect, or the fatigue in the muscle tissue, so it's not able to actually stabilize or take the load you're putting on it, so the muscle itself gets sheared and stressed. And then the next piece of this is having flat feet. If you're a person that has flat feet, you're going to have higher impact of forces through your shin when you land on surfaces, or you run, jump, plant, or whatever you do. Because of the fact your feet are flat, a lot of that force goes through your tibia, and as a result, your tibialis anterior, which is the muscle in your front part of your leg, as well as your calf, your soleus, and even your foot position, and even the muscles in between your toes, have to take on a lot of actual of that stress to be able to make sure you don't fracture anything or stress anything. And as a result, if you have an accumulation of trauma or micro trauma to the muscles, fascia, periosteum, can cause chronic pain slash inflammation, which then can also lead to stress fractures. How do I know that? I had a stress fracture in my shin when I was younger. I played all sports, and I had a stress fracture in my shin. I think I had it for a while, but I really noticed it in my junior year. It was terrible. I had to stop playing sports for about a month so it can heal up, do some exercises. And what really helped me was the thing I'm going to talk about next, which is the fix, right? The fix that helped me: compression, orthotics, increased muscle strength, and trigger point release. The big one of these four that helped me is actually orthotics. Me getting some custom fitted orthotics. I don't mean the ones you go in Walmart and you sit on this little platform and they say, "Oh yeah, you're the 560 or the 420 or the whatever." No, and I don't mean the ones you have to pay $800 for either. No, you can get some custom fitted orthotics for a reasonable price. We actually do them here. So if you're interested in what we do here, you can go to the actual first slide, look at booking, fill out the information, and we'll contact you. But if you want some custom fitted orthotic for an affordable price, custom fitted orthotics really help me. As a result of having those, I realized my shin pain was nil, right? Nil. So we're going to talk about it in order though, but the one for me, it was orthotics, right? I added compression also. I felt a difference in my recovery when I had compression sleeves on my legs, or compression tights. And then after workouts, when I did cold compression, or I got into a cold plunge, in this example, I use Game Ready or compression with ice packs. Have compression sleeves on your compression tights already on. Elevate your legs, put ice packs on your legs, on your shins where they become pretty much inflamed for the most part. That cold really helped because it really cooled the tissues down for me. And as a result, it made me feel so much better the next day. And I feel like it's a basic physiology point here to make. When you add cold to something, you cool the tissues down, right? Some people say you delay and slow healing. That's cool. That's for argument, whatever. Um, when you cool the tissues down, you actually also remove a lot of the blood out of the tissues also by constricting the vessels and returning that blood up to your core. That deoxygenated blood, or that inflamed blood, or wherever you want to label it as, gets replenished with oxygen. As a result, a lot of the actual lactic acid does not get a chance to build up in your lower leg muscles. That fresh blood comes back down after you take the cold packs off, that compression back off, and it allows your body to heal a little bit, I think, more effectively. Just my actual theory. Feel like it does it for me, works great. So if you're trying to fix something with your legs, or for your shin pain is concerned, I would definitely suggest to invest in compression. The next thing is orthotics. Get your feet custom fitted for some orthotics. and you only use these orthotics when you're playing the sport. These orthotics can be rigid, a little bit firm, right? In a sense where your feet have to get accustomed to them first. Your feet will be a little bit very sore, but your shin pain would decrease tremendously. And because it decreases the impact force of the ground by helping your foot posture and putting your foot in a posture where it can accept more forces and disperse those forces a little bit evenly throughout your lower leg. The third part is the increase in muscle strength. Very tedious to strengthen this part of your leg or your muscles. Tibialis anterior, internal foot musculature, gastrac soleus complex, and your hamstrings play a vital role in stability in order to decrease the amount of micro trauma from the muscles that are that are basically being sheared when you're planning or hitting or landing. And then the trigger point release. I'm going to say it out loud. This sucks. There's nothing about this that feels great, but when it's over with, oh my god, like your legs feel amazing the next day. Sucks though. But one something you just have to do, it would give you a return that's beautiful. But with that, not everybody can tolerate it. But if you can tolerate a trigger point release, and it's basically a manual technique where a therapist finds an actual sore or tender spot on your lower leg, and I left the K off of work, but worked them out for better recovery and healing the next day. So, if you're somebody who struggles with shin pain, right, do this. Adopt some of these things that I listed underneath the fix. I'm telling you guys, it would pretty much put your shin pain to zero if you commit to them and find the right mix of these that work for you. For everybody who stayed to the end of this video, thank you so much. I'm hoping that you all are getting a lot of information from this. At 3Gen Physical Therapy, what ends up happening is that we try to make sure we solve the problem. So we don't want to just come in here and get you treated. We rather for us to fix the problem. And as a result, if you're interested, please, please, please hop on to our website. It's iii-gen.com. Jump to schedule an appointment or booking. And as a result, you better get in with us and we'll be able to get you figured out. Again, thank you much so much for your time. And for everybody who's still pressing play, I hope you have a blessed one. Catch you in the next one.